Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. When we think of cookies, we usually picture a harmless little treat, right? Something to enjoy with our afternoon coffee. But the truth is, for those of us over 50, what's inside that cookie matters a lot more. Many popular brands are packed with hidden sugars, unhealthy fats, and tons of salt. For a younger person, this might not be a big deal, but for us, these ingredients can cause blood pressure spikes, clog arteries, and even interfere with important medications. I've seen it happen with my own patients. That's why today, we're going to expose 9 cookie brands you should absolutely avoid. But don't worry, I'll also share 2 safer, delicious options that won't put your health at risk. It's not about giving up what you love, it's about choosing wisely. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on some of America's most beloved cookies. They're sitting in pantries all across the country, but what are they really doing to our health, especially as we get older? Let's start with a true icon, Oreo. It's been marketed for generations as America's favorite cookie. That black and white design, the creamy filling, the jingles we all grew up with. It feels safe, familiar, and honestly, a bit nostalgic. But here's the hard truth. Just 3 of these cookies pack over 14 grams of sugar. That's more than you'll find in many breakfast cereals. For seniors, that sugar spike isn't just a number. It can quickly raise your blood glucose, worsen insulin resistance, and trigger things like fatigue and swelling. For anyone managing diabetes, it can cause dangerous fluctuations. What's more, studies have shown that Oreos activate the same reward centers in the brain as highly addictive substances. These cookies aren't just sweet treats. They're scientifically designed to make you reach for more. I can't tell you how many patients have told me, I only meant to eat a couple, but suddenly the whole sleeve was gone. That isn't a lack of willpower, that's food science at work. And it's not just the sugar. A small serving adds over 150 calories and a surprising dose of sodium. If you're on blood pressure medication, that sodium surge can actually blunt the medication's effect, putting your heart and kidneys under more stress. The danger is that it's invisible. The cookie looks harmless, it tastes sweet, and it feels comforting. But that hidden load is silently building up inside your body. If you love the idea of a sandwich cookie, try making your own at home. Use rolled oats, a touch of honey, and dark chocolate chips. You'll get all the crunch and sweetness without the heavy dose of corn syrup and chemicals your body just doesn't need. Next up is Chips Ahoy, another brand many of us grew up with. The cheerful name, the promise of real chocolate chip goodness, it all sounds like a perfectly safe, fun snack. But when you look closer, the story changes. In the past, Chips Ahoy was one of the brands caught in lawsuits over using partially hydrogenated oils, which you probably know as trans fats. Even tiny amounts of trans fats are known to raise your bad LDL cholesterol, lower your good HDL cholesterol, and directly increase your risk of heart disease. For anyone over 50, especially if you're already on cholesterol or heart medication, that's a dangerous push in the wrong direction. While the company eventually phased out most trans fats, they quietly replaced them with palm oil. Now, here's the problem with that. Palm oil might sound natural and plant-based, but inside your body, it behaves a lot like saturated animal fat. It can raise cholesterol, stiffen arteries, and make your heart work harder. I've had patients come to me confused, saying, "Doctor, I don't understand why my cholesterol went up. I cut back on red meat." The answer was often hidden in processed snacks like these. Beyond the fat, Chips Ahoy still delivers a heavy punch of sugar and sodium. A couple of cookies might seem harmless, but when you add them to your daily diet along with bread, sauces, or other packaged meals, that sodium and sugar creeps up fast. For seniors with high blood pressure or kidney concerns, that extra load can completely undo the benefits of your medication. If you're craving a good chocolate chip cookie, look for cleaner options. Find organic or formula-free versions with shorter ingredient lists. Or even better, bake a simple batch at home using oats, whole wheat flour, and dark chocolate. The flavor is so much richer, and your heart will thank you for it. Now, let's talk about Keebler fudge stripes. You know the ones, with the smiling elves on the box that take so many of us back to our childhood kitchens. The packaging sells pure nostalgia and playfulness. But when you flip that wrapper over and look at the nutrition facts, the picture isn't quite so magical. A single cookie has nearly 10 grams of sugar, and high fructose corn syrup is one of the top ingredients. For older adults, that's a major red flag. Multiple studies have linked high fructose corn syrup to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition that already affects nearly 1 in 3 Americans over 50. Adding more of this syrup just fuels inflammation and fat buildup in your liver. Then there are the artificial dyes used to make those bright fudge stripes. They don't add any flavor, just color, but they can leave your fingers sticky and even stain the packaging in hot weather. It's interesting to note that in Europe, some of these synthetic dyes are restricted or require warning labels. Yet here, in the US, they're still commonly used in snacks. That double standard should concern us, especially for seniors, whose bodies process chemicals more slowly. And let's be real about the sensory experience. That glossy chocolate looks appealing, but the coating is sticky and clings to your fingers. The texture is almost gummy, and there's a chemical aftertaste. This isn't a homemade indulgence. It's a lab experiment designed to keep you coming back. So if you want something sweet with a chocolate drizzle, swap these out. Bake some simple oat-based cookies and add a drizzle of real dark chocolate. You'll get natural sweetness, fiber for digestion, and antioxidants that actually support your heart health, all without that chemical taste. Next on our list is a cookie that practically whispers, "I am fancy," from the grocery aisle. Pepperidge Farm Milano. You know the one, the elegant white bag with the gold lettering. It's marketed as a refined, delicate treat, something you'd pair with a cup of tea or serve 2 guests you want to impress. But let's look past the packaging. A single serving of just 2 of these small cookies can deliver nearly 25% of your daily limit for saturated fat. For older adults, this is a serious red flag. Saturated fat is notorious for raising LDL, the bad cholesterol, which contributes to plaque buildup in your arteries. This works directly against the cholesterol-lowering medications that many seniors rely on to stay healthy. The deception doesn't end there. The ingredient list often includes a mysterious term, natural flavors. This is a vague cultural phrase that can hide a cocktail of additives and artificial compounds. You might think you're tasting real vanilla or a hint of almond, but it could just be a lab-engineered flavor designed to trick your senses, which can sometimes irritate sensitive stomachs. And what about the experience itself? Many people say the chocolate layer isn't smooth but waxy. The cookie itself is often described as dry and crumbly, leaving a dusty feeling in your mouth instead of that buttery richness you'd expect. Plus, there's that oily residue left on your fingers. Not exactly sophisticated, is it? So here's some practical advice. If you're craving a chocolatey treat, why not try a few squares of high-quality dark chocolate paired with a handful of almonds? You'll satisfy that craving while getting antioxidants, healthy fats, and even some protein, instead of loading up on saturated fat and chemical flavors. This is a fantastic swap, especially for older adults, as it protects heart health while still feeling like a delicious indulgence. Next up, let's talk about a cookie steeped in nostalgia, the Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie. For so many of us, these were a staple in our school lunchboxes. They felt like a wholesome treat, probably because of the word oatmeal right there on the wrapper. But let us be crystal clear, what's inside these pies today is a far cry from healthy. A single oatmeal cream pie contains more sugar than a can of Coca-Cola. Just let that sink in for a moment. A cookie, marketed with oatmeal, is actually a sugar bomb that sends your blood glucose soaring. For seniors, this can lead to dangerous blood sugar spikes, sudden fatigue, dizziness, and can even interfere with diabetes medication. The filling is another story. Instead of a creamy dairy-based center, it's often described as a greasy, paste-like substance that clings to your fingers and leaves a lingering, chemical sweetness in your mouth. There's no warm vanilla aroma, just a synthetic, almost metallic aftertaste. Beyond the sugar overload, each pie is packed with about 12 grams of fat, mostly from heavily processed oils. This combination puts a huge strain on the heart, can clog arteries, and makes managing weight much more difficult, especially for older adults. It's sold as comfort food, but in reality, it's just discomfort waiting to happen. If you're craving that classic oatmeal cookie, try making them at home. Use rolled oats, a touch of honey or maple syrup for sweetness, and maybe a light cream cheese filling. You'll get all the chewiness and sweetness you remember, but without the chemical overload. This is a much better choice, especially for seniors, who will benefit from real fiber and natural sweetness instead of a processed sugar bomb that undermines their health. Finally, let's take a closer look at famous Amos cookies, those little bite-sized chocolate chip snacks that market themselves as premium. The name alone suggests a certain level of trust and quality, right? But the reality is that these cookies often do more harm than good, particularly for older adults. Here's the problem. Each small serving is loaded with corn syrup, cheap soybean oil, and a surprising amount of sodium. For seniors, that extra sodium can quickly lead to issues like swollen ankles, higher blood pressure, and added strain on the kidneys. When your kidneys are already aging, that extra workload can be dangerous. And the chocolate, many people report it doesn't taste like real cocoa at all. It's often described as waxy, artificial, and even chemical-like, with a smell that reminds you more of plastic than a warm bakery. When you take a bite, you get a stale crunch, followed by an oily film left on your tongue and fingers. That's the residue from the cheap oils, not the sign of a homemade treat. Nutritionally, just a handful can contribute to rising LDL cholesterol, stress on your heart, and digestive issues. In fact, some nutrition experts have said that cookies like these are built for shelf life, not for people's lives. That's a powerful statement, and it's spot on. So, what should you do if you love chocolate chip cookies? Make them at home. Use rolled oats for texture, good quality dark chocolate, and real butter. The difference is night and day. You'll actually taste the rich cocoa, enjoy a natural sweetness, and avoid all that hidden sodium and cheap fat. For seniors, this means you can enjoy a delicious treat without worrying about blood pressure spikes or kidney stress. Let's continue our journey through the grocery store aisles. And next up is a brand that practically screams comfort and nostalgia. Entenmann's soft-baked cookies. The packaging, the smell, it all promises that fresh from the bakery experience. But let's pull back the curtain. That soft texture isn't from fresh baking. These cookies are engineered to stay soft for months on the shelf, thanks to a preservative called TBHQ. Now, TBHQ is a petroleum-based additive, and studies published in the Journal of Immunotoxicology have shown it can weaken the immune response. For seniors, whose immune systems are often more fragile, this is a serious concern. It could mean longer recovery times from common infections, or even an increased risk of hospitalization. Even the experience of eating one is a bit off. When you bend it, it feels more like rubber than fresh dough. The sweetness has a hollow, almost metallic taste, and it leaves a strange waxy residue in your mouth. This isn't the comfort of homemade, it's the signature of a product built for shelf life, not for your health. Nutritionally, just 2 of these small cookies can pack nearly 200 calories and a double-digit dose of saturated fat. For older adults, managing heart disease or high cholesterol, that's a dangerous load in what feels like a light snack. When you combine that with preservatives like TBHQ, you've got a cookie that puts a strain on both your heart and your immune system. So, here's some practical advice. If you love soft cookies, try baking a small batch at home. Use ingredients like oat flour, dark chocolate, and natural sweeteners. They'll only last a few days, not a few months, but they won't compromise your body's defenses. For seniors, fresh and simple is always a better choice than soft but preserved. Next, let's talk about that irresistible smell that fills shopping malls across America. Mrs. Field's cookies. It's a scent that triggers nostalgia for so many of us, warm, buttery, and incredibly indulgent. But behind that inviting aroma is a cookie that can be more like a fast food burger in disguise. Here's the hard truth. A single Mrs. Field's cookie can contain around 300 calories and 15 grams of fat. To put that in perspective, that's nearly the same amount of fat as a cheeseburger, but without any of the protein or fiber that would at least make it a balanced meal. For seniors, this is a massive hit of saturated fat, which can raise LDL cholesterol, spike blood pressure, and put extra strain on the heart. And let's be honest about portion sizes. Who really stops at just one? Eating 2 or 3 of these in one sitting can easily push you toward 1,000 calories. For older adults trying to manage their weight, diabetes, or heart conditions, that's a silent overload the body really struggles to process. The experience itself tells the story. Take a bite, and your fingers are slick with grease. The chew is heavy, coating your mouth in oil that lingers long after the sweetness is gone. One cardiologist I followed described desserts like these as silent bullets to the arteries. They feel indulgent at first, but they're quietly causing damage over time. My advice: if you're at the mall and that sweet craving hits, consider a small cup of frozen yogurt with fruit toppings instead. It satisfies the craving without the fat and cholesterol punch. If you do enjoy a Mrs. Field's cookie, treat it as a rare indulgence, not a regular snack, and be sure to balance it with heart-healthy meals for the rest of the day. Finally, let's talk about a beloved American tradition, Girl Scout cookies. Those colorful boxes, often sold with a smile by kids raising money for a great cause. For many families, buying a box feels like supporting the community. But what's actually inside those cheerful boxes tells a very different story. The reality is, Girl Scout cookies are often loaded with saturated fats, huge amounts of sugar, and controversial additives like polysorbate 80 and carrageenan. Studies, particularly in animals, have linked these additives to gut inflammation and metabolic stress. For seniors, who might already be dealing with sensitive digestion or taking multiple medications, this is not a minor issue. Let's take one of the most popular kinds, Thin Mints. A single sleeve can pack over 700 calories and nearly 40 grams of fat. That's the equivalent of a fast food meal in cookie form, but with none of the protein, fiber, or nutrients to offset the damage. For an older adult, that kind of saturated fat bomb can raise LDL cholesterol, strain the heart, and increase blood pressure. The sensory experience also gives it away. The chocolate coating feels waxy, not smooth. The sweetness is cloying and sticks to your tongue, and the aftertaste is an oily film, not a clean finish. That's not homemade indulgence. That's industrial processing wrapped in cute packaging. Here's my practical advice. Supporting a good cause is wonderful, but you don't have to sacrifice your health to do it. Instead of buying the cookies, consider making a direct donation to the Girl Scouts. Your money still supports their programs, and you avoid the health risks. If you really want a treat, bake some simple shortbread at home with butter, sugar, and flour. At least you'll know exactly what's in them. For seniors, every calorie counts more, and every additive lingers longer. Don't let a charity cookie become a silent burden on your health. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about something we all love, cookies. But as we get older, finding a store-bought cookie that doesn't feel like a health compromise can be tough. So, I've done the research and found two fantastic options that are genuinely worth your attention. First up is a brand I can wholeheartedly recommend, Simple Mills Almond Flour Cookies. What makes these so special? It's all about the ingredients. Unlike most packaged cookies that have a laundry list of additives, Simple Mills keeps it clean. We're talking almond flour, coconut sugar, and organic coconut oil. It sounds like a recipe from your own kitchen, not a science lab. Now, let's talk numbers. A single cookie has about 110 calories. But the real win here is the sugar. It contains about half the sugar of a typical cookie like an Oreo, and it uses coconut sugar. This type of sugar digests more slowly, which means you avoid those dramatic blood sugar spikes. For anyone managing diabetes or heart health, this is a game changer. You get a gentle, balanced energy boost, without the sudden crash that puts a strain on your system. And the taste, it's a real treat. They have a lovely light crunch, a warm almond flavor, and a clean finish. You won't find that oily coating or chemical aftertaste that so many other cookies leave behind. If you're craving a cookie but want a smarter snack, the high-protein lower-carb profile of these almond flour cookies makes them an excellent choice. Next on our list is Tate's Bake Shop gluten-free cookies. This brand is proof that gluten-free doesn't mean you have to sacrifice flavor or texture. A serving is about 140 calories, and the fat comes from real butter, not hydrogenated oils or industrial shortenings. That means no waxy residue, just a clean, crisp cookie that tastes homemade. The ingredient list is refreshingly short and simple. You won't find strange gums or emulsifiers that can sometimes irritate a sensitive digestive system. For seniors, especially those on multiple medications, this makes Tate's a much safer and more comfortable choice. People often say, they don't taste gluten-free, they just taste like great cookies, and I couldn't agree more. Each bite has a satisfying snap and a buttery crumble that doesn't feel heavy or overwhelming. Of course, portion control is still key, so think of these as a special treat rather than a daily snack. But if you want a delicious cookie that won't sabotage your health goals, Tate's is a reliable and delicious option to keep in your pantry. So there you have it, two fantastic, senior-friendly cookie brands that deliver on both taste and quality ingredients. Who doesn't love a good cookie? It reminds us of childhood, of family. But did you know that for those over 50, the wrong cookie can be a real problem? Many store-bought brands are packed with refined sugars, unhealthy fats, and additives that can raise blood pressure, strain your kidneys, or mess with your diabetes management. For anyone dealing with heart conditions, a few of these can even interfere with your medication. But don't worry, you don't have to give up cookies. The secret is to choose smarter. Look for brands with short, clean ingredient lists, or even better, bake your own using oats, almond flour, and a touch of honey. This way, you get the treat without the trash. Remember, it's not about saying no, it's about knowing which one and how much. A small, well-chosen cookie can bring joy without the risk. If this helps you see food in a new light, subscribe and like this video. I share practical tips every week to help you live a healthier, stronger life.